Welcome back to Nutty Education, and on this episode I'm going to give you an actual formula of how to win life. Now, to win life, first you have to understand what life actually is, what we're doing here in this life. And we are all two things. We are our physical body and we are our consciousness, our energy, the thing that makes us self-aware, the thing that separates this from this, an item that isn't self-aware and a body that is self-aware. That difference in self-awareness, the fact that this is self-aware and this shoe is not self-aware, that is the thing that separates us, and that is what we truly are, that self-awareness. So we're two things, we're our physical body and our consciousness, and this physical body, it's not permanent, it's mortal. If you die of old age and nothing happens to you, it will last about 80 years, maybe 100 years if you're lucky. But the point is, this physical body, it's not permanent, it's not immortal, it lasts for a certain period of time and then it dies. But when this physical body dies, our energy, our self-awareness, our consciousness, the thing that separates a self-aware being from an object, as I said, that goes somewhere. That leaves the body. Now, I can't tell you where it goes, but what I can say, what we can gather from that information, is this physical life that we're having, this physical experience whilst we have this physical body, whilst it's still alive and operating. This physical experience we're having is obviously temporary. It's a temporary physical experience. We are immortal, everlasting, conscious, self-aware energy, and we are having a temporary physical experience. Now, this temporary physical experience that we call life in this physical realm, how do we win it? How do we win our life? The answer is this: each one of us, we have a different amount of time here in this physical realm. Maybe this physical body, maybe my one will last me 70 years, maybe your one will last 60 years, maybe someone else's physical body will last 90 years. Some people's physical body lasts 5 years and they die at 5 years old. The point is, all of our physical bodies are different. They all last different amounts of time. We all have a different time in this life. And the way most people's brains are wired, they have this mindset that if your life is short, if you're one of the people whose physical body only lasts 5 years or 10 years, basically if you're someone who dies as a child, if you're someone who dies at 5 years old or 10 years old, people have a mindset that for that person that died, that young kid, that is so tragic for them, that they had their whole life ahead of them. But the truth is, it's actually not tragic, and I'll explain why. You see, this whole temporary physical experience, the way we win it, the way we win our life, is not by trying to make it as long as possible. The way we win this life is by enjoying as much of it as possible, by making as many years as we can as years that are just filled with happiness. That's basically how we win life. And as I mentioned before, everyone's life, everyone's physical experience, everyone's physical body, they all last different amounts of time. Some people have 5 years, some people have 95 years. But whatever the case, the way we win our own life is to maximize the amount of years that are just pure happiness, pure enjoyment. That is how we win our life. So let's say we have someone who lived 50 years. They died at 50 years old. If they spent 45 of those 50 years with just pure happiness, if they were just happy for 45 years and only 5 years they weren't happy, then they have one life. They've achieved like a 95% win ratio of life, or whatever the percentage is. But if another person had a 50-year life and they spent only 2 years of pure happiness and 48 years of just negative emotions, they haven't won life. They lost their life, because most of it was spent not being happy. So back to what I was saying about, let's say a 5-year-old dies. What did I mean when I said it's not tragic? Let's say we had a 2-year-old and this 2-year-old died. If that 2-year-old spent his 2 years of temporary physical experience, if he spent his 2 years of physical life in this physical realm, if he spent those 2 years with mostly happiness, that most of his 2 years of life were filled with happiness, he was smiling most of the time, his parents were making him laugh most of the time, you know, he was just a happy baby, he didn't have to have the responsibilities that adults have. If he spent his 2 years of physical experience mostly filled with pure enjoyment, that 2-year-old, he won life. Because you gotta remember, life isn't the same exam for everyone. Because our lives are all different lengths. Some of us have 5 years, some of us are 50 years. Because they're all different lengths, we all have a different exam sheet. And as I said, the way we win the life is by making as many years possible that we're given pure happiness. If that baby only got given 2 years of life, but those 2 years were pure happiness, that means he achieved 100%. He enjoyed life. His life here was 100% good for him. It was all good experience. So he won life. And that's how you gotta look at it. That's how it's not really that tragic. Because when kids die, although I obviously don't want kids to die, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is kids, most of their life is happiness, because they don't have responsibilities that adults have. And if they die young, most of those years are going to be filled with happy years. So they're likely to achieve either 100% of winning life or a high percentage. The way we can compare it is, let's say we had that 2-year-old who died, but those 2 years were pure happiness, meaning he achieved 100% winning life. Compare that to, let's say, a 95-year-old, but 90 years were miserable and only 5 years were happy. That 2-year-old, even though he had 2 years of life, but the 95-year-old had 95 years of life, that 2-year-old, he still achieved more of winning life than the 95-year-old, because he has 100% rate of happiness, and the 95-year-old, he only has, 90 years miserable, 5 years happy, whatever percent that is. So you see what I'm getting at here? It's kind of like a kill-death ratio, except it's a happiness to amount of years lived ratio. That's the kind of formula. So I guess if you want to convert all of this into an actual formula, if you want to make an actual formula of how to win life, the formula would be amount of years lived, you have to make as many of them happiness. I know the wording on that isn't like a written formula, but you get what I'm saying. if you only live 10 years and you die as a 10-year-old, make sure those 10 years were pure happiness, and you will achieve 100% status of winning life. If you live to 100 years but only 5 years were happy and 95 were bad, then you've only achieved like 5% of winning life, and that's how it works. Basically, how long you're alive for, you gotta enjoy as much of that as possible to win your life. Because remember, we all have different lengths of life, we all have a different exam sheet. Just make as many of them happy as possible and you will win your life. That's all this temporary physical experience is. It's just a chance for us, because remember, we are not this body, we are the self-awareness, the consciousness. This physical life, it is just a chance for our consciousness, us, the true us, to enjoy a physical experience and have a nice, enjoyable, happy life, a happy physical experience. And once that temporary experience is over, we go back to being energy, endless, infinite energy. So while you're having this temporary experience, as I said, enjoy it as much as possible. Also, think about all these man-made systems and constructs that we live in, the things that keep the wheels turning of this society. We have to go to school, we get GCSEs, we get grades, and then we get a job, and then we earn money. Maybe we go university or college in between all of that process. All of those things I just mentioned, college, university, school, money, grades, all of that, those are all man-made things. They're all man-made constructs. They're all systems built by man in order to sustain a civilization. It's all a system where we go to school, we get grades, and the grades get us jobs, and the jobs get us money. That is all a man-made construct, a man-made system. That is an illusion. That isn't really the meaning of life, because you got to think, life itself is not man-made. Life is something beyond the limits of what a man can create. And no, I don't mean it takes a man and a woman to make life, because that is just making a physical body. I'm talking the self-awareness, the consciousness. That, the self-awareness, can anyone create self-awareness? No, that is something beyond the limits of mankind. But these systems, these constructs, school, college, getting a job, this is all man-made stuff. Now, if life itself, if self-awareness and consciousness is beyond the limits of man, then man-made constructs and man-made systems such as money and jobs and school and college and all that nonsense, they cannot be the meaning of life. They're not what we were put here to do. Something man-made, a man-made construct, a man-made system, that can't be what we were put here to do, because life itself, this physical experience, it is beyond anything that mankind can ever create. So yeah, as I said, the true meaning of life, when you look past all the illusion that is all these constructs and systems, I know it's hard to look past that, because the way this society is built, we're forced to get jobs and we're forced to work miserable 9 to 5 hours just to earn money to pay bills and live. I know it's hard because of how the humans have created this life, how they've created the systems that run this world. But the truth is, past all of that, when you die, your self-awareness will leave your physical body. It will leave all these constructs and systems, and you will see that there is more than these man-made systems. The meaning of life was never to get as much money as possible, because money is something man-made. The meaning of life has always been to just enjoy as much as you can, as many years as you can that you have of this physical temporary experience. That's the formula to win life. As many years that you're given, feel as much as you can, maximize as much as you can of pure happiness. There's your nutty education. Remember that shit, and peace, bitch.